Imagine this. You're sitting at your family dinner table, exhausted but happy, when your stepmother suddenly slams her hand down and looks your 19-year-old daughter dead in the eyes and says, "Emma, you're giving your Aunt Vanessa that $74,600 right now. She needs it more than you do. Don't be selfish." The entire room goes silent. My heart stopped. Hi, I'm Sarah, 42 years old, and this actually happened to my daughter and me. For the last 12 years, I thought we were building a normal blended family. My dad married Diane when I was 30. She came with her daughter Vanessa, who's now 29. At first, it felt fine. Awkward, but fine. But looking back, the red flags were always there. Diane never missed a chance to remind everyone how hard Vanessa had it, while quietly ignoring everything my Emma went through. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Emma is my only child. Her father passed away when she was little, so it's always been just us two against the world. I worked 2 jobs for years to give her every opportunity. Then last year, everything changed. Emma was a talented college soccer player on a scholarship when she suffered a devastating knee injury, torn ACL, meniscus damage, the works. After surgeries and months of painful rehab, she received a $74,600 structured settlement. That money wasn't a windfall. It was compensation for lost scholarships, medical bills, and her future stability. It was supposed to cover the rest of her tuition, a safe apartment, and give her breathing room, so she wouldn't have to struggle like I did. But Diane didn't see it that way. For weeks she had been circling, dropping little comments. "Vanessa is really going through it, family helps family, blood is blood." I brushed it off as her usual dramatic personality. Until that dinner when she finally said it out loud, in front of everyone. What I didn't realize in that moment was that this wasn't just a greedy request. Diane had been planning this. She had already started working on my dad. She had already poisoned the family group chat. And she was willing to destroy our relationship to get what she wanted. How far would she actually go to take money from a 19-year-old girl who earned it through pain and loss? You're not going to believe what happened next. What I didn't know in that moment was just how far Diane would actually go to take money that wasn't hers. After that explosive dinner, things got quiet for a few days. Too quiet. Then the texts started coming. First to Emma directly. "Sweetheart, your Aunt Vanessa is in real trouble. She's like a sister to you. Family doesn't abandon family." Then to me. "Sarah, you raised Emma better than this. Don't teach her to be greedy." I tried to keep Emma shielded. She was still limping around the house in her knee brace, doing physical therapy 3 times a week, and dealing with the fear that her soccer dreams were over. That $74,600 was her safety net, her chance to finish college without drowning in loans. But Diane kept inserting herself like she had every right to. Let me paint the picture of our blended family. My dad, Richard, 68, is a good man, but he's always hated conflict. Diane, 56, knows exactly how to play him. She's the type who cries on command and makes everything about her. Vanessa, 29, has bounced from one bad decision to another. Failed clothing boutique, toxic relationships, and apparently some serious gambling debts we didn't know about yet. Diane started visiting our house unannounced while I was at work. She'd bring Emma soup, sit on her bed, and talk about how poor Vanessa was crying every night. She told my daughter stories about how she herself had sacrificed everything for Vanessa when she was young. Then came the guilt trip that still makes my blood boil. "Your grandpa has been so good to you and your mom. Don't you think you owe the family something in return?" Emma started getting anxious. She'd ask me, "Mom, am I being selfish?" I'd hold her and say no, but the seed was planted. Then came the day that changed everything. I was in the kitchen making dinner when I heard voices in the living room. Diane had shown up with Vanessa. They sat Emma down on the couch and put a folder in front of her. Inside was a family repayment agreement, completely fake, with numbers and terms they made up on the spot. Vanessa, with fake tears in her eyes, said, "I just need this one help, Emma. I'll pay you back, I swear." Emma looked terrified. She glanced at me standing in the doorway, like I was her only lifeline. But the worst part? Before they left, Diane pulled Emma aside and whispered something that made my daughter go pale. She said, "If you don't help your aunt, Grandpa will have no choice but to cut you and your mom off completely. He already told me so." My stomach dropped. What had Diane been telling my father behind my back? That whisper from Diane about my dad cutting us off completely? It wasn't a threat. It was a warning shot. The very next morning, I drove straight to my father's house. I needed answers. Richard opened the door looking tired, almost guilty. Before I could even speak, he said, "Sarah, Diane told me what's going on. Emma's being unreasonable." My own father, the man who used to spoil Emma rotten. Now he was repeating Diane's script word for word. That's when I discovered the real reason Vanessa needed the money so badly. It wasn't medical bills. It wasn't rent. Vanessa had blown through everything on a luxury lifestyle she couldn't afford: designer bags, crypto gambling, and a secret $60,000 loan from a shady online lender with interest rates that would make your stomach turn. Diane had co-signed it last year thinking it would be temporary. Now the lender was threatening legal action, and both women were panicking. They saw Emma's settlement as their easy way out. I confronted Diane that same afternoon in my own living room while Emma was at therapy. No audience this time, just us. The mask finally dropped. "You're young, Sarah," she hissed. "Emma can make more money. Vanessa is family too. If you really loved your father, you'd make this right instead of turning your daughter against us." Her voice was ice cold, no more fake tears. She even pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of texts she'd been sending to relatives, calling me a bitter single mom and Emma a spoiled little princess who doesn't understand sacrifice. The smear campaign was already in full swing. My phone started blowing up with messages from aunts and cousins I hadn't spoken to in months, all asking why I was destroying the family over money. My dad went cold and distant. He stopped answering my calls. Emma's anxiety spiraled. She started having panic attacks at night, whispering, "Mom, maybe I should just give them some of it so Grandpa won't hate us." I felt like I was watching my family get ripped apart in real time. Then came the family gathering at my dad's house 2 weeks later, a birthday dinner for Vanessa that felt more like an ambush. 20 people around the table. Diane stood up with a glass of wine, smiling like a saint, and announced loudly, "I'm so proud of Emma. She's agreed to help her Aunt Vanessa with the money. Such a generous girl." Emma froze beside me, face white. I shot up from my chair. "She hasn't agreed to anything," I said, voice shaking but clear. Diane just smiled wider, eyes locked on mine. "We'll see about that," she said sweetly, "because I have proof she already promised." The proof Diane claimed to have was a complete lie, but what she did next was even worse. At that birthday dinner, the whole table went dead silent after Diane's smug little announcement. My hands were shaking as I stared her down. She reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and hit play on a voice recording. Emma's voice came through the speaker, sounding hesitant but clear. "Okay, I guess I can help Aunt Vanessa with the money." Gasps around the table. Emma looked like she'd been slapped. "Mom, that's not what I said," she whispered. Diane had secretly recorded a phone call with Emma 2 days earlier, then edited it, cutting out all the parts where Emma said no, where she cried, where she asked for time to think. It sounded exactly like agreement. Diane smiled at the room like a proud mother and said, "See? Emma already promised. She's a good girl, unlike some people." I felt the floor drop out from under me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I hired a cheap family lawyer the next morning for a quick consult. He took one look at Emma's settlement paperwork and told me the money was protected. It was structured as a minor settlement with tax and legal restrictions. Emma couldn't just gift it without massive complications, paperwork, and potential IRS flags. More importantly, it was hers. Period. But Diane didn't care about laws. She started blasting that edited recording into the family group chat. Relatives who had been on the fence suddenly turned. My dad texted me once, "Sarah, fix this before it destroys everything." Emma broke down in my arms that evening, sobbing, "Mom, I feel like I'm tearing the whole family apart. Maybe I should just do it." I held her tight and said no. But inside, I was terrified. 2 days later, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to Diane's house with Emma. Vanessa was there too, lounging on the couch like she already owned the money. I pulled out my own phone and started recording openly. "This ends now," I said. "Delete that fake audio, or I'm showing everyone the truth." Diane laughed right in my face. "Go ahead and record, Sarah. No one will believe you over me." Then she leaned in, eyes glittering with pure venom, and dropped the final bomb. "Your father already changed his will last week. If Emma doesn't help her aunt, you two get nothing when he's gone. Not a dime." My blood ran cold. She had just played her ace card, and I had no idea if she was bluffing. Diane thought she had won. She stood there in her living room, arms crossed, smirking like she'd just checkmated us with that will threat. But I had been one step ahead the entire time. I smiled right back, pulled out my phone, and hit play on the folder I'd been building for weeks. Every single conversation, every late-night guilt trip, every time Diane and Vanessa admitted, in their own voices, that the $74,600 was to cover Vanessa's crypto losses, her designer shopping sprees, and the illegal loan Diane had co-signed. I played the unedited phone call with Emma, the one where my daughter said no 6 different times before Diane twisted her words. Side by side with the fake version, the manipulation was crystal clear. My dad had been sitting in the next room the whole time. I had asked him to come over quietly. He heard everything. The color drained from Diane's face. Vanessa started crying for real this time, not the fake tears, but the ugly kind that come when you're caught. "Richard, this isn't," Diane stammered. But my dad cut her off, voice shaking with quiet fury. "You tried to steal from my granddaughter. You lied to me. You changed my will behind my back." He looked at me and Emma, eyes wet. "I'm so sorry, girls. I should have listened." That was the moment everything broke open. Emma collapsed into my arms, sobbing with pure relief. "Mom, you really fought for me." I held her tight, tears streaming down my own face, whispering, "Always, baby. This money is yours. No one gets to take what you earned through your pain." The consequences hit fast and hard. That same week, my dad froze every joint account and started separation papers. Vanessa's shady lender began calling her nonstop once the family drama leaked. 3 aunts and 2 cousins cut Diane off completely after I privately shared the recordings. Diane's perfect stepmom image shattered overnight. She tried one last guilt trip in a text. "We're still family," but my dad replied for us, "You stopped being family the day you tried to bleed my girls dry." 6 months later, life looks completely different. Emma is back in college, knee stronger every day, living in her own little apartment with the first month's rent paid from her settlement. No loans. No panic. She's even started coaching youth soccer on the weekends. Last Sunday, we had a quiet dinner at my dad's house. Just the 3 of us. No Diane. No Vanessa. Emma looked across the table at me and said softly, "Thanks for fighting for me, Mom." I squeezed her hand and smiled. "Always." And that, right there, is how we finally got our peace.